even to those on the block, "if a hair of her head has been touched, it will go hard with the whole Iroquois tribe." "Nay, nay, she is safe below, nursing a dying parent, as becomes her sex. We owe no grudge on account of the Sergeant's hurt, which comes of lawful warfare; and as for Mabel—" "She is here!" exclaimed the girl herself, who had mounted to the roof the moment she found the direction things were taking. "She is here! And in the name of our holy religion, and of that God whom we profess to worship in common, let there be no more bloodshed. Enough has been spilt already, and if these men will go away, Pathfinder, if they will depart peaceably, Jasper, oh, do not detain one of them. My poor father is approaching his end, and it were better that he should draw his last breath in peace with the world. Go, go, Frenchmen and Indians! We are no longer your enemies, and will harm none of you." "Tut, tut, Magnet!" put in Cap. "This sounds religious, perhaps, or like a book of poetry, but it does not sound like common sense. The enemy is just ready to strike. Jasper is anchored with his broadside to bear, and, no doubt, with springs on his cables. Pathfinder's eye and hand are as true as the needle, and we shall get prize money, head money, and honor in the bargain, if you will not interfere for the next half hour." "Well," said Pathfinder, "I incline to Mabel's way of thinking. There has been enough bloodshed to answer our purpose and to sarve the king; and as for honor, in that meaning, it will do better for young ensigns and recruits than for cool-headed, obsarvant Christian men. There is honor in doing what's right, and unhonor in doing what's wrong; and I think it wrong to take the life even of a Mingo without a useful end in view, I do, and right to hear reason at all times. So, Lieutenant Muir, let us know what your friends the Frenchers and Indians have to say for themselves." "My friends!" said Muir, starting. "You'll not be calling the king's enemies my friends, Pathfinder, because the fortune of war has thrown me into their hands. Some of the greatest warriors, both of ancient and modern times, have been prisoners of war, and yon is Master Cap, who can testify whether we did not do all that men could devise to escape the calamity." "Ay, ay," dryly answered Cap. "Escape is the proper word. We ran below and hid ourselves, and so discreetly that we might have remained in the hole to this hour, had it not been for the necessity of restowing the bread lockers. You burrowed on that occasion, Quartermaster, as handily as a fox, and how the devil you knew so well where to find the spot is a matter of wonder to me. A regular skulk on board ship does not trail aft more readily when the jib is to be stowed than you went into that same hole." "And did ye not follow? There are moments in a man's life when reason ascends to instinct." "And men descend into holes," interrupted Cap, laughing in his boisterous way, while Pathfinder chimed in his peculiar manner. Even Jasper, though still filled with concern for Mabel, was obliged to smile. "They say the devil wouldn't make a sailor if he didn't look aloft, and now it seems he'll not make a soldier if he doesn't look below." This burst of merriment, though it was anything but agreeable to Muir, contributed largely towards keeping the peace. Cap fancied he had said a thing much better than common, and that disposed him to yield his own opinion on the main point, so long as he got the good opinion of his companions on his novel claim to be a wit. After a short discussion, all the savages on the island were collected in a body, without arms, at the distance of 100 yards from the block and under the gun of the Scud, while Pathfinder descended to the door of the blockhouse and settled the terms on which the island was to be finally evacuated by the enemy. Considering all the circumstances, the conditions were not very discreditable to either party. The Indians were compelled to give up all their arms, even to their knives and tomahawks, as a measure of precaution, their force being still quadruple that of their foes. The French officer, Monsieur Sanglier, as he was usually styled, and chose to call himself, remonstrated against this act as one likely to reflect more discredit on his command than any other part of the affair; but Pathfinder, who had witnessed 1 or 2 Indian massacres, and knew how valueless pledges became when put in opposition to interest where a savage was concerned, was obdurate. The second stipulation was of nearly the same importance. It compelled Captain Sanglier to give up all his prisoners, who had been kept well guarded in the very hole or cave in which Cap and Muir had taken refuge. When these men were produced, 4 of them were found to be unhurt. They had fallen merely to save their lives, a common artifice in that species of warfare, and of the remainder 2 were so slightly injured as not to be unfit for service. As they brought their muskets with them, this addition to his force immediately put Pathfinder at his ease, for, having collected all the arms of the enemy in the blockhouse, he directed these men to take possession of the building, stationing a regular sentinel at the door. The remainder of the soldiers were dead, the badly wounded having been instantly dispatched, in order to obtain the much coveted scalps. As soon as Jasper was made acquainted with the terms, and the preliminaries had been so far observed as to render it safe for him to be absent, he got the Scud under way, and, running down to the point where the boats had stranded, he took them in tow again, and, making a few stretches, brought them into the leeward passage. Here all the savages instantly embarked, when Jasper took the boats in tow a third time, and, running off before the wind, he soon set them adrift full a mile to leeward of the island. The Indians were furnished with but a single oar in each boat to steer with, the young sailor well knowing that by keeping before the wind they would land on the shores of Canada in the course of the morning. Captain Sanglier, Arrowhead, and June alone remained, when this disposition had been made of the rest of the party, the former having certain papers to draw up and sign with Lieutenant Muir, who in his eyes possessed the virtues which are attached to a commission, and the latter preferring, for reasons of his own, not to depart in company with his late friends, the Iroquois. Canoes were detained for the departure of these 3, when the proper moment should arrive. In the meantime, or while the Scud was running down with the boats in tow, Pathfinder and Cap, aided by proper assistants, busied themselves with preparing a breakfast, most of the party not having eaten for 24 hours. The brief space that passed in this manner before the Scud came to again was little interrupted by discourse, though Pathfinder found leisure to pay a visit to the Sergeant, to say a few friendly words to Mabel, and to give such directions as he thought might smooth the passage of the dying man. As for Mabel herself, he insisted on her taking some light refreshment, and, there no longer existing any motive for keeping it there, he had the guard removed from the block, in order that the daughter might have no impediment to her attentions to her father. These little arrangements completed, our hero returned to the fire, around which he found all the remainder of the party assembled, including Jasper. End of chapter.